To the visitor's eye, YouTube may not seem like much of an environment for cultivating communities, where anyone, anywhere can create an account and share videos and/or comment on them. A casual observer would likely only see the latest viral videos. Take a look at the random and often poor content comments and conclude that the site is more of a media site than a place for building audiences and relationships.
In terms of a community, I never really considered it one. But then again, I wasn't a part of it. I wasn't acting in it. I don't leave comments. I don't post myself. So yeah, I didn't really consider it a community.
However, this has been growing and changing a lot in the past 6 years or so.
The community that we're using a new medium, or not really a new medium, but we're using the medium to connect further out. We don't have to be restrained by our physical presence any longer.
I first started putting things on YouTube because I always made videos anyway. Like I made a 93-minute feature film on mini DV, you know, using consumer grade equipment. And I had various cable access shows and things like that. I was always making videos anyway. And then I saw that people started paying attention to what was on YouTube. Like people started getting audiences, and it's something that I always wanted. I never had an audience for any of my stuff, and I was making stuff anyway, so I just started putting it up, and then people started showing up and checking it out. It was awesome.
Take the Vlogbrothers channel, for example. John and Hank Green began a project in 2007 to take turns making videos to each other. It didn't take long for their videos to gain an incredible amount of traction. The Vlogbrothers began building a separate forum, a record label for YouTube musicians, and a yearly fundraising campaign for nonprofit organizations.
The project is to take over YouTube. We're taking over YouTube by having this image be the thumbnail for hundreds of videos. Videos from people who have 50,000 subscribers and videos from people who have 5 subscribers. And it's a project for awesome, because every person who's making a video in the Nerdfighter Power Project for awesome is promoting a charity of their choice that they believe reduces the amount of suck in the world.
In 2007, a group of people got together and we hacked YouTube. There's a lot of ways to put it, but I think that that's the simplest. We used all the tricks that we'd learned as YouTubers to help our videos get more views. And we used those tricks more than we would ever have used those tricks normally. And while this would have felt underhanded and maybe even a little bit dirty if we were just doing it to grow our video views, instead, it felt awesome, because we were doing it for charity. We went from having to use every trick in the book to get a few more thousand views on YouTube to YouTube literally banging down our door to get involved. Why is that? Well, I think it's 2 reasons. One, because I think everybody wants to help and they're just looking for a way. Like, we all know that the world is broken, but it's so hard to figure out how to get involved without feeling really just depressed about the whole thing. People want it to be meaningful, but they don't want to feel bad about it. They don't want to hate their entire lives just because they're trying to do something good. And I think that everybody knows that that's what the Project for Awesome is for. But really, the obvious and real reason why YouTube wants to be involved in this is because they see how powerful this community is and how much more powerful it could be if we all shared these resources. We use the power of our community and of their platform and mixed it together for true epicness. So honestly, what we're doing here is hacking for charity harder than ever before.
They also created VidCon, YouTube's first and largest annual convention.
This is just, the most epic thing I've ever been at.
We went up there and we were laughing. Muscles Glasses told people off.
Everyone's just excited, like, to meet people, you know? I've given so many hugs.
It's definitely the opposite of my childhood. There's actual love in the room.
They rushed the stage. We had a camera guy. He's like, what's happening?
I've had a lot of elevator meetings where people are like, I like your videos. And I'm like, I'm going to floor 7.
VidCon is like, it's 2,500 people growing. And they're all, young, excited makers. I mean, they're making things, and I can't imagine, like, a better community of people to be around.
But Hank, I want to focus on just a couple of moments. First, Megan Tonjes performing on the main stage. Hank, you and Ellen brought Megan to DFTBA Records before she was on Ellen, before she was mad famous, and now her first album is coming out, and it's so beautiful, and I almost started crying listening to her play on that couch. Another moment, that night people were so psyched to hear you play at the concert that I briefly forgot that you are a huge nerd, but then I was able to call to mind these pictures, which reminded me, the nerdmanity. But seriously, Hank, every time for the rest of my life anyone whines about the intellectually disengaged tastes of teenagers these days, I will play them this. That is 3,000 people singing a song about quarks, which are a fundamental constituent of matter. How can you not feel hopeful about this world? And then Driftwood's Pony Club, another band that you and Alan signed to your record label, got on stage and rocked. These guys have been in a band for 10 years, Hank, and for the first time in their lives, there were thousands of people singing the lyrics of their songs back to them. How awesome is that? Okay, one last moment from VidCon. George Watsky. I made Watsky sign a waiver before he did this, but at the end of one of his brilliant poems, Watsky dove head first into the crowd. They caught him, of course, because that's the thing about the YouTube community. They always catch you. Later in an interview, Watsky called you his guardian angel because you helped him out a lot when he was first growing on YouTube. And that made me think about all the stuff you do, Hank. Nerd fighting, sharing music that you love through DFTBA records, helping YouTubers, planning conferences. Hank, you've built a career out of making places where people can fall and get caught. You build communities for a living. I love that.
Their community has inspired many branches and communities on YouTube.
It is the absolute foundation of why YouTube has gotten so big. People come out and create these communities. And we're very lucky, Platoon of Power Squadron is very lucky to be part of a much larger community. I mean, we fall under the Wheezy Waiter umbrella. He's a very popular vlogger. So that's how our audience grew. He's a cast member of our show, and then he falls under the Nerdfighteria umbrella, which is the Vlog Brothers, which is a larger audience, and that's like, the fact that we are a branch on the Nerdfighteria tree is an amazing thing.
People can contribute, collaborate, and interact with each other to foster relationships and achieve great things.
Using the internet and our virtual world, we can connect in a matter of seconds. We can stay connected with people that we've met in the physical world or that we've met online. And there are times when we've met people online that we choose to actually meet in a physical space. So those lines are really, truly becoming blurred today. And it really is just an extension of who we wish to have interaction with.
The only cons of being on YouTube are, one, people, like, if you're talking to somebody outside of the YouTube community and you'd be like, I have a show on YouTube, they're like, oh, okay, good. You know, they don't understand what that means. They think, like, you know, my mom and dad watch it and maybe a couple of my friends. They don't know that I have like 35,000 subscribers. Even though you feel like you're doing something special and something amazing is happening from it, people that you know can kind of downplay it very easily because they go to YouTube to watch, you know, adorable kittens fall over, which is great. I watch that stuff too. The only other con would be the commenting thing can go both ways. Like 99 point whatever % of my comments are glowing stuff, positive. People are very supportive of what we're doing. But then there are the people who show up just to, like, you know, ruin your day or whatever. So the fact that there is that open dialogue means that people can show up and just shred you if they want, which is also part of the community. And I wouldn't give up all the positive things I hear for the couple of negative things I hear, even though they do eat at you when you spend 7 months working hard on something, you know?
After doing research, you know, I see that it's more, people look past that, and it's not something that stopped me from using YouTube, obviously, but I never really thought of those comments as being hurtful for the person who's putting them out there. You know, I kind of brush them aside, and I'm like, oh, that guy's kind of a jerk, but you know, it doesn't really devalue it because the community is much greater than a couple of mean comments.
I think the YouTube audience very much feels like a real audience. It doesn't feel, just because they're exclusively online, that they are not a real audience. If it was just numbers without comments or without ratings, it might feel kind of ethereal and like you don't know who your audience is or what's going on. But you have conversations with these usernames, you know, and they become very real to you. And you see them every week, and they show up, and they comment on your stuff, and it feels very real. And I've become friends with some of them, you know, like we Skype and we talk, and it's a YouTube audience is a very real audience, and it's a broad spectrum of people from all over the world. So it's an international audience, which, as someone who has never been like paid to write and direct a movie, to have an international audience is I've said it over every answer. It's unbelievable. It's amazing.